I'm Steven.
And I'm Will. And this is the Post P Chronicles.
Will, episode 2, season 2 is rolling. What do we got today?
Hey, man, we got something great in store for you guys today. A great man, a good friend, Gusto Privilege. Gusto, what's going on, man? Welcome to Post P Chronicles.
And I appreciate you having me.
Definitely, bro. So, like we say to everybody, tell us your story. Where you from?
Man, I'm born and raised Southeast San Diego. I come from poverty. We came from nothing. We was drinking dry milk and rice and beans, cornbread, I come from that, the struggle.
Okay.
But basically Southeast San Diego,
All right. Now, how old are you?
I'm 33 years old.
33. Okay. So what was your childhood like growing up in Southeast San Diego? What was that like?
It's funny. My childhood was pretty good, though. Actually, I had a strong mother of 5 children. She did her best to kind of raise us. So we definitely was in the church. I was in the church. I played the drums, starting at 5, picked up on a few other instruments. I was raised, really religious, very religious, deeply. And that's kind of how my childhood went, when it comes to motherhood. And
So you mentioned your mom. Did you have a father in the picture?
Oh, no. My father, he's from New York.
Okay.
So I've kind of been back and forth out there in my youth and stuff like that. But it was just my mom.
Being raised in the church, did you have a good community around you and people checking in on you and your mom?
I believe so. Those people are still in my life to this day, seeing the transformation.
Okay.
All right. So you said it was a good childhood. So tell us a little bit more about your childhood. You grew up in the Southeast. What school did you go to?
Well, I went to Rosebank Elementary. So
Okay.
I grew up out here, actually, in Chula Vista.
Okay.
At my youth. We end up going to moving to Lemon Grove towards middle school era. And that's when I went to Lemon Grove Middle, And then high school era, I tried to play football. I went to Helix,
Good school.
Kind of inspired by Reggie Bush. I went to Helix trying to play running back, following his footsteps.
Definitely.
And then the last of my education ended at Mount Miguel. I didn't last there long, though.
All right. Well, it sounds like you had a pretty good childhood. So what
Sure.
what happened with football? Why didn't it, or did it succeed? Were you the star of the team? What happened?
Well, for some reason, at that time of my life, I was more tied to the street, and friends, and I was losing friends at that age, at young ages, 13, 14, 15, 16. I was losing friends to the streets and things like that. So I kind of got pulled into the streets a little more, and that's just kind of where my life started to downward spiral as a youth.
Did you end up dropping out of football because of the streets, going towards that where all your friends were doing?
Not necessarily. I don't think it was just because of the streets. But I don't know. It seemed like I started to get in trouble myself, for sure. It was just me. I started to get in trouble. And it really wasn't about sports anymore. It was about me more. It was more so like I was grieving, trying to avenge my friends' death and things of that nature. Just definitely getting caught up in the street, for sure.
Just an angry young child?
Oh, for sure. Anger is definitely something that I feel I struggled with for a long time. It took me a while to find that inside of me, for sure.
So let me ask you a question. Looking back at your childhood, do you think you can pinpoint where it turned?
So it's funny because when I did my 10-year Fed sentence, it was times where I started an autobiography on my life. And when I was writing the story, I seen that there was questions that I need to answer. There was questions that I need to answer. So I remember one turning point in my life. I ran track in my youth, and I was very good at it. I think I still have a record in the long jump at the time. I think I was about 12. But my mother didn't let me go to the Junior Olympics 2 years in a row, and I made it. To a certain level of athletics as a youth. And there were certain questions I need to answer and anger, that was deep inside of me that I had to deal with, And me and my mom had conversations, and I was able to understand her side of it as an adult now, being able to open up and express true raw emotions. But at that time, I don't think I was equipped with just being able to express my emotions,
So the Junior Olympics are pretty impressive to qualify as a 12-year-old. That means you're in the top percentile of that age group to be able to make it. And I could see why you as a child not having the emotional maturity or mental maturity to understand why you can't go.
Right.
Definitely can lead to some resentment and anger because you're like, Mom, I'm going to be a star. I'm going to be the best in the world. And she says no. You think that's the turning point?
I think it's one of them. I also was sent to New York to kind of not meet my father. I met my father at 9, but then I was sent to New York around 13, for my 13th birthday, actually. And then that's another part, but it's around the same era. But yeah, I do think it was a turning point in my life because that's the question that I asked my mom. I was like, do you think if you would have push me to my abilities and allow me to do that, that I wouldn't resort to the street? Because that was kind of like the turn. And I do see it like, oh, that was the turning point.
So what's it like at 13 going out to see your dad trying to kind of reconcile or build a new relationship with someone who hasn't really been in your life?
New York was fun. New York was fun. My father's like a really good friend of mine, you know. He's a little more street and chill and not as when it comes to like my mother, she's really strict, you know,
Religious.
and all that. So he's more chill, kick back. So it was freedom. It was fun. But I also think that you know, touching New York and seeing some of the trauma in their streets as well also had an effect on me as well, you know, as a youth for sure.
All right. So let's move up. So you said you went to Mount McGill, you went to Helix. At what point? Because, like I said, this is my friend, and I do know you got locked up. At what point? When's the first time that you was incarcerated?
Man, the first time I was incarcerated, I'll never forget it. When we were young, we didn't really have much, so for clothes and stuff like that, to dress nice, because of course, if you don't got nice clothes on, you can't get no girls. People are laughing at you, and I grew up in that. I grew up hurt from that and stuff that I still kind of like see I had to deal with growing up. So we did runouts, and I remember we was going through a store in College Grove, that Mervin's right there, and we just did runouts in that store a week prior. But this time we're just walking through to head to like the movies. We were gonna meet up some chicks at the movies and stuff. But one of my friends has a firearm on him. I believe I had a knife on me. But because we just did a run out at the store, a bunch of clothes the week prior, and beat up the security guard when we walked through, the police were called on us. So when we came out of the store, like every unit was on us. You know, it was over. I was going. But that was like the first time I ever went to jail.
And what age was this?
I believe that was 13.
So juvenile hall.
For sure.
So it started early. How did you feel the first time you was incarcerated?
For me, I said this before too. It was like a joke to me,
Right.
Because by this time I've already kind of hardened my heart, and I wasn't really afraid.
Right.
You know, I wasn't afraid. I'm a good fighter. You know, there's a lot of fighting in there and whatnot. Already have gang ties and things of that nature. So it's already that game being played that the streets play. You know, and I wasn't afraid. So to me, it was a big joke.
Right.
And I did very well. You know, when it comes to how I carried myself in there. You know, and I ain't lose no fights. You know what I mean? So it didn't affect me in a way to where it was like it scared me to divert me back to doing right or anything like that. If anything, I came home bigger, stronger, you know, and had a little more so-called clout is what they call it in the streets these days. You know, so it didn't really affect me much. I kind of took it as a joke.
Right. And so the first time, how many months did you do the first time?
Man, I don't think I did that long that time. It was like probably like 3 months, you know.
3 months, okay.
Wasn't much.
So came out, big, strong, clout, tripping on everything. What happens after that?
Man, I didn't last long on the streets. I went right back to jail. I think the next time it was I got such an extensive record, man. But the next time it was another case. I don't know if it was the gun and stolen car or if it was breaking and entering. But I went back to jail in less than 30 days, more than likely, I think.
So you weren't even trying to be slick. You're like, whatever.
Nah, I think at that level, that stage of my life, I was very ignorant. You know, I was very ignorant. It was more so like I was just out in the streets trying to eat. You know, I was trying to eat. Come from poverty, I was trying to eat.
Now with your mom, you said 5 children. Mm-hmm. What age in the hierarchy are you?
I'm the second. I'm the second to oldest. I have an older brother, me, a younger sister, a baby sister, and I have a tiny brother.
So your whole family's struggling at that time.
In a sense, yeah.
And you're just trying to make ends meet for yourself.
Yeah, that and the family as well. Like even the household. If my mom were to give us because back in that time it was the WIC vouchers and stuff like that. It wasn't EBT, you know, coming from food stamps to WIC vouchers. You know, that was kind of embarrassing to go to the store with those. You know what I mean? So we ran out of the store with carts full of groceries. You know, come bringing them back to the house, making sure we good. I'm talking about literally just filling it up and just
running out.
They ain't worried about us. You know, we just walking down the street like we just left and kept it pushing. I'm serious. This is how even my mom gave me some money. I know my mom ain't had no money. We bringing back her money, like, you know, like we got all types of stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
So it was, I think I was doing things to get ahead for me and to kind of fit in with the world for me, but also definitely family. I'm very family orientated.
Now you just said something, fitting into the world. Now, I know the mindset's different. You said you're trying to survive. Mm-hmm. So is it even a concept of right and wrong for you? Is it just I'm doing what I'm doing to survive, and this is the way it is?
Well, that's the funny thing, and I try to do my best to explain this to people that don't come from the same walk of life, because it was not a fact of right or wrong for me. It was more survival mind state, more of like, this is what I got to do. Like, this is what I'm going to do. You know, for me and mine, I'm going to make sure me and mine are straight by any means, you know, at that time. And with not having different, what I would say, any other idea or any other type of hope for anything else, not understand that there's so much more opportunities, you know, at that time. It wasn't about right or wrong. This is what I seen. This is what kind of like, it's what we're going to do. You know, It is what it is. It ain't no.
And probably everyone around you's doing it too, right?
Exactly. There's no question about it. You know, we hungry, gonna eat.
Exactly. Or you're gonna find a way to eat.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you get locked up. You over and over again. You getting locked up. Let's move past juvenile hall. Where do you go from there? Because now you're 18 years old. No more juvenile hall. Where do you go from there?
So around 16, 17, I did a California Youth Authority sentence that I think that I can't leave out because it was a 4-year, 2-month sentence.
Right.
You know, I got into a gunfight out here and ended up doing some nice time for it. After that, being released from that sentence, that was an impactful sentence for me too, I believe. I think I met certain individuals who had an impact on my life, like a gang guy. I had to take a 187 class because it was gang violence before I could be released from parole. And it was a guy named Newman. He was a gang dude, a gang like teacher. Right. And he did impact me a lot to start to get me to elevate my mind. You know, they had us sitting down with psychologists and stuff like that too, where I had certain people who were a little elevated in mind and kind of looking at things from a different point of view start to help me. So that was a turning point. And I was released from California Youth Authority around 21.
So 21 years old, you are back on the street. You already was in juvenile hall time after time after time. And now you go to YA, the Youth Authority, which is just baby prison.
Right.
And we've heard it many times.
Makes
many
better
times.
criminals, right?
It makes better criminals. That's what YA does. And that's
sure.
why they've shut it down, because you go into YA, better criminal than when you went in. So now you're out on the street, a better criminal. But you also said you met some gang guys. I don't know how to describe him.
Yeah, he was like a gang officer. Like he was like he
like
was a
GSU.
teacher. Yeah, GSU type of guy.
Something
but
like that.
A program in there that
Right.
a certain gang. If you was a gang member, you had to take his class to parole. The parole board wouldn't let you go home. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think coming home from that sentence, I was a better criminal. You know, I was because I was around people all up and down California state. I was tapped in now and networked with more and more people than just my average homies who just knew people from our area. So I'm going out of town now and things of that nature. But because of maybe some of the individuals like the Newman guy, I did start to try to better my life. You know, I was playing football for Southwestern College, going to school for kinesiology, things of that nature. Living with my sister. She was just had my niece at the time. I'm helping taking care of her, you know. So I did kind of do better to get my life on the right track, but I was straddling the fence still.
So you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
For sure.
Trying to do good, but you're not giving up that game.
Yeah, I was straddling the fence for sure. And this side was pulling much harder for sure, big time. A lot of things started to catch up to me that I thinking I could get away with and whatnot. To right the day, technology these days, like you think you're getting away with something, you're not getting away with it. Even if you got away with it, you're not getting away with it. Yeah, it's still a stress. It's still stress in life that's gonna come towards you, even if you think you got away with it. You know.
Now you said gangbanging. Was drugs also involved in the picture, like many guys, or were you just straight gangbanging?
So, see, yeah, I never really was money motivated in my youth. I was really just gang banging. I was never taught. It was no older dudes like teaching me like you need to get your money and things. No. I was really gang banging. When it comes to the abuse of drugs, weed and alcohol, we definitely abused weed and alcohol, especially when it came to like grieving and just social living, on an everyday basis for sure.
Right. Got it. Yeah, and we grew up in the same area, and I always say like we didn't have money on our mind, which is really sad, honestly, because you have kids out there doing nothing and saying, "Hey, let's go hurt people."
Yeah, the only legacy you're worried about is what type of gang member legacy you're gonna leave.
Right. So
yeah,
you got out 21, a better criminal. How long did you stay out?
I had some time out there this time. I was out for about 2.5 years.
Okay.
I had a nice little run.
Going to school.
I was going to school.
Okay.
I was half-assing it out there, getting jobs. Like, I never had a job, and I'm getting jobs and trying to, somewhat.
Right.
But I'm be honest, all I was doing was that was like my smoke screen. That was my smoke screen for really what I had going on, because I did have in the streets, everything you can name in the streets, I had going on. But I was just trying to be smart about it, And then I got all this going on to really show that I'm so-called being smart about it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I was a fool. Little did I know the federal government, had my phone tapped, and things that little did I know I was already on that level. I didn't know. But yeah, it ain't got no sense. I thought I had it, but I think at that time too, in the youth, it's about what people are reading. Like when I was in California, we were reading books like urban novels, and you hear these stories, all these kingpins. So when I came home, I actually carried myself. Just what I put in is what I put out.
So I mean, that's good to learn. Good to know that all the books that we reading in there do
effect.
Influence.
Oh, for sure.
Because we are kids. What do they say? Our brains are not fully developed until we're 25 years old.
Big time.
So if a child who is already have the mentality of gangbanging, hurting people, and then all they're feeding themselves with is books where major criminality, major drug dealing,
how to get in positions of
how
power,
to get in positions of power,
people,
warfare,
all those different things. Why wouldn't you come out worse than when you came in?
For sure. You're just going to be a little more advanced at those things, at the modern warfare. And it came to a stage in my life during this last 10-year sentence, where I elevated past even paying attention or entertaining warfare,
Right. So let's back up into that. Mm-hmm. This last 10-year sentence, what happens?
So when I was indicted by the feds, I was really, really young. It definitely traumatized me. I was getting my money and whatnot out here, but at the end of the day, it was crime. So I was indicted. And I think this time I'm going to definitely give kudos to a good guy of mine. His name is Buntry. He's from Athens up in L.A. He was my first cellie. And he had 3 life sentences at that time. He's now flipping properties right now, and we're really good friends. But he was my first cellie. And when I got to Victorville, USP, we was on lockdown for 2 homicides. So from being in California Youth Authority, where we fought and we were real active and we were aggressive in our stance in life when it came to our opinions or anything, to going to this level of the penitentiary system, where I'm at the highest caliber of individuals, and a dude with 3 life sentences gives me a Robert Kiyosaki book, and tells me to read this, tells me like he's getting on me about little things and trying to show me how to carry myself. I kind of do appreciate running into the right individuals along my path. But I think that was like the beginning of my turn right, him giving me the right books. Because, I've always been a sponge. What he was just giving me, I was just obtaining the right stuff. Instead, now instead of me reading urban novels, now I'm reading how to invest in assets. So it was, and that stuff is interesting, especially if you like to give money. I like to give money, you know what I mean? So
nobody ever told me these things.
Exactly. I didn't know it was really that relatively easy, And
I don't think you give yourself enough credit to be able to go to school full time, play sports, and then gangbanging on the side. You're smart. You know what I mean? A lot of people can't balance those things. It's just all gangs or all one thing or the other. So to be able to even be enrolled in school and playing football, just as a smokescreen,
ADHD
shows me you got some sort of talent.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you too.
Definitely. So what was that book that he introduced you to? Because you said Robert Kiyosaki.
I think the first one was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. There was plenty of books, man. I like Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits, that guy. And he also has another book that I really love. And I'm doing my best to try to re-educate our community when it comes to like trust no soul and how people don't really like to trust. He has a book called The Speed of Trust that taught me that my own belief of not like being all irie and not trusting humans is actually dysfunctional. And there's more creative ability and there's more speed to making things happen and trusting everything rather than being doubtful and skeptical, But yeah, I think the Robert Rich Dad Poor Dad, that was one of the first books that clicked, ding. I was like, ooh.
Me and we'll talk about that. Any young person out there listening to this podcast right now, if there's one book you want to read to set yourself up financially for the future or just learn about money, assets, liabilities, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I think is the number 1 book you need to read at a young age.
Big time.
Facts. I mean, me personally, just how you said you was incarcerated and you read that book, before I read that book, I used to think, okay, I got to come home. And because I don't want to go back to jail, I got to just get a square job, and
save my money,
save my money, and just live a regular life. And by reading that book, I'm like, whoa, I can get money and not look over my shoulder when I'm doing it, So definitely that book changed my perspective on what I can achieve. Sure. So yeah, read that book. You heard them 3 people right now.
Big time.
Read it. So you read that book, many books. You change your perception. 10 years in, you getting out. What's going on? You out now. What happened?
So after the 10-year sentence, and that 10-year sentence was full of spiritual path, all types. It wasn't just about getting money. Trust and believe. It was a lot of inside out stuff I had to deal with. But after the 10-year sentence, me getting home, I came home and all the stuff that now, in retrospect of me being in California Youth Authority and reading books that taught you how to be a kingpin, and that now me doing 10 years of educating myself in different realms, psychology, finances, real estate, things of that nature. So what happened was I came home and I applied myself. I applied myself just like I applied myself there, but this time I started to try to manifest some of the things that I knew I could create, applying myself here, So when I was in the halfway house, a lot of people be in the halfway house trying to hit the smoke pit, meet a girl that came from County Justice so they could have a little rendezvous. Me, I was in the computer lab opening up LLCs, you know what I mean? I'm in that motherfucker like, I'm applying for stuff. I was doing some wrong things, to be honest, though. Even on this route, just like I made mistakes there, even on this route, I'm cleaning stuff off my credit report right now because I was messing up and doing some things that were wrong. But I'm on the right route, you know what I mean? But I'm opening up LLCs, my fitness brand, I got that open, I'm dropping merch, things of that nature, you know what I mean? I definitely had to get a job, I do believe in that, some dudes that come out here, if you don't have nothing, you definitely got to work to live. But my habit was that the money that I made, I was investing into things that made money, So that just started turning me into another monster rather than people who just working to live,
It's like a couple weeks ago, we had Peter Meyerhoff on here. He's like, I want inmates to be excited for their release date to know I can start making money. I can start investing. And it sounds like you're educating yourself for those 10 years. And but right before you got out, you're like, I can't wait to get out to make some money. Let's put these things into practice.
Yeah, because I want to see.
Yeah.
I've studied. I read Millionaire Habits. That's another book. Millionaire Habits, like getting rest, cold showers. It's a little simple habits. I practice those. I just try to. I follow Warren Buffett. I follow Elon Musk. I follow. I just look at the rich people. Even Trump. I do some of the same tactics he used. I'm using too. You know what I mean? I just try to practice millionaire habits. And it's not that you have to have a lot of money. It's just about how you manage your money. Or like, for example, if you made $100 a week and you invested $25 a week into the stock exchange, you will be a millionaire. You don't have to make $5,000 a week, or you don't have to be this, this big old, it's not even about that. It's just the habit. And over time, especially with compound interest and so many other strategies that can be created over time as you learn on your path, man, it's for sure. It's like for sure, literally for sure.
Yeah,
definitely. So you're out, you're killing it, you're doing more things. Tell us about some of the things. Tell us about Gusto Privilege. So
Gusto Privilege is basically just like me reinventing myself. That's one thing I read somewhere too, that you got to continue to reinvent yourself. You can never become like settle or become stagnant in whatever the case may be. So I studied my government name, Gary Craig Stevens, and I understand the history of that name. It's an Irish last name. The first Irishman with that last name in America was in 1868 and stuff like that. And I get it, and everything like that. But me understanding my history a little deeper, I'm like, what? Gusto Privilege. I told you it was an older homie that we had. He used to always say, "What's up, Gusto?" And I didn't like it at first, but once I looked the word up and I seen that it means, zest, enthusiasm, and it means like, it's like an energy, a strong liking. I kind of took a liking to it because, that's one thing I do try to do every day. I hit the room with a good energy, and I even looked up that word, enthusiasm. That's the God inside of you. It's derived from the Latin words into and theo, which is the God inside of you. So I try to come with that energy every day, to put my best foot forward, and obviously affect the people around me in a positive light rather than be all, how some people be up and down. Yeah. But that's kind of where it came from. And then privilege, that's derived from two words that mean separate law. And that's me staying cultured, because, I'm a blood at the end of the day. Well, a Piru, but in the same difference. Bloods and Crips in Southern California, we kind of were on some rebel time. We were on rebellious time in the, in the 70s. That's what it was. We were just rebelling against this government. Of course, it didn't work, things of that nature. I did time, though. USP Victor with Dr. Shakur, Tupac's father. I took a political science class with him, human rights class, and even him, he's telling us, why would you revolt? Why would you riot? Why would you? No, there's actually a more educated way to get your point across. It's with the United Nations and using common law and the Magna Carta and things like that. So I just elevated my game a little more, but I wanted to hold on to my separate law, because at the end of the day, I still don't align with a lot of the belief systems and things of this creed and culture, and I still can own who I am, So So I feel like it was like a separate law because I don't think like everybody else. I feel like I don't agree with what everybody agrees with. You know what I mean? And I just want to kind of hold on to that, you know, in a sense.
Okay. So now we see gusto privilege. I seen you had your emblem, or what is it called? Your
Logo.
My logo.
your logo, gusto privilege logo. What else are you doing? Because we talk all the time, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I want people to hear all the great things that you're doing for your community, for your people, for people in general. So
I hear
wanna
you.
know.
So what came up under Gusto? So that's just like my domain, and then up under, of course, I have Gusto Fitness. That's me training, and I really just try to work out every day myself and show what I'm doing to kind of inspire everybody else. So I stopped really enjoying giving everybody my time training wise. So that's really not that fun no more. But also I have Gusto Promotions Management, which is it's what I do is I market a lot of companies. I just market for free. You know, I'm not like telling people, oh, pay me and I'll market you. I don't even have a lot of followers. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be real. I'm not like the guy with all these followers and all that. I can't even be on that type of time. I got these feds on me. But it's just the practice. I'm serious. It's just the practice because, like, okay, for example, this podcast. I mean, I'm telling everybody about this podcast. You my good dude, but we don't really, in our community, that's another problem. We don't know how to, like, promote each other and help each other.
Support
you know,
one another.
Everybody will go by Louis. This is my brother's jogger right here. Code Game Entertainment. This is my brother's jogger. I came home in a $400 Billionaire Boys Club jogger. You think I wasn't gonna give my brother $400 for his? What? I came home like, bro, good looking. You know what I mean? Like, I like what you're doing. That's how you build your community. You know, the Jews. You see the Jews do it. They only shop at their stores. Things like that.
Keep the money in their community.
That's how you build your economy for sure. You know what I mean? So I came home promoting that and trying to teach people like a sense of financial literacy in regards to that. So I definitely promote a lot of minority-owned companies and things of that nature. I push. I tell people, and then I understand business too. I take a lot of business college courses in jail, you know. So I also be trying to tell people you got to market your brand, you know. Market your brand. You pay for marketing, you're gonna get seen. You get seen, you make more money. It's just facts, you know.
Speaking of marketing, got to pay the bills. This podcast is brought to you by the Gym Chula Vista. Make sure you check us out, 320 3rd Avenue. I have a deeper question. Maybe you guys didn't see this one coming, but you guys are from the same neighborhood, right? Mm-hmm. You guys did time together in juvenile hall, correct?
For sure.
What do you guys think you guys could do for your community to help the people in your community currently? Or what do you think is the problem that you guys can help fix? You guys grew up in it. Nobody knows.
You want to take that?
Too.
Well, I think a problem that I want to fix is how everything is really, really superficial. And a lot of guys, they hide behind their Instagrams. They hide behind, you know, a lot of superficial things. The way they choose to put on their attire, like put on the clowns, they put on the chain and some Jordans and all that. And they hide behind that, which is really a mask that they're putting over who they really are. And so they're not really dealing with no issues, you know. Even if they get into another individual, they can't really man up and really deal with an individual or have a real conversation. Everybody talk about real and fake, but a lot of people don't know how to have a real conversation. They're always kind of hiding behind their personas and stuff like that. And that's something that I would like to change in regards to people being humble enough to and secure enough as a man, like to have a real conversation with another man to hash out issues so that people don't end up getting killed for no reason. Because a lot of people get killed for no reason.
So how do you change the culture?
So
how do you go back to your neighborhood and do that?
So me personally, I just try to do my best to lead by example, but I ain't gonna lie, it's very difficult. You know, they say if you don't like your environment, change it. So I know on one side, that was me having to leave. You know, even people like Nipsey Hussle, watching him getting killed in his neighborhood, it kind of like, damn, just sure, are you supposed to leave your community? But then somebody told me one day, it's like, how can you change your community if you leave it? You know what I mean? So, of course, it's that give and take of, I'm always telling, anytime I see somebody post something or he got gun, anything, man, you better take that down. and why did you post and shout him out and say that? Why don't you talk to him as a man? Like, you can really, like, you know, yeah. I try to be that voice, but I balance that as well because I don't ever want to turn into an enemy because you're trying to speak wisdom to a foolish man. You know, sometimes
they got big egos. And
sometimes that can, the wrong way. Yeah, I've had a long path of that too, getting into fights over standing for righteousness too. So I understand. You know, you just gotta lead by example.
Can't
you know,
cast pearls before swine.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Well, what about you?
I'm kind of along the same lines. I feel like you have to be the example. I feel like a lot of kids, a lot of the younger generation, who do they look up to? Who do they emulate? The ones They older homies. And so if the older homies are the ones, like you say, wearing the mask, then that's who they're going to emulate. But now if you have respected older homies, like you, like DC, like you have individuals, you know what I'm saying, like myself, like me wanting to be an example, like, hey, bro, you can do this. You know, now if they see success in that, then they can see, well, I can still be successful and not do this.
Exactly.
So that's how I feel. That's how I do my part. Like, hey, I talk to him, but at the same time, you can't talk wisdom to a foolish man. Yeah. So you just have to be the example. Like, hey, bro, you don't have to follow these footsteps. You can still come from the same neighborhood, do this, and still achieve greatness. So that's what I think.
There's still a mindset shift. You gotta accomplish in the neighborhood. Right?
Yeah, there's definitely a mindset shift. And that shift is happening. Like, you know, there's another individual, another one of my friends. He started a men's group, you know, so he went and he got out of prison after 10 years, you know, and he was very reckless when he was younger, you know, him and his brother. And then when they came home, they was like, okay, they did something different. And now they have a men's group for men in the community. Like, hey, let's show the younger generation that we can be men. And this is how men interact. This is how men conduct themselves. Let's be the example that these young boys, these young kings have to see so that they can do something different, so that we don't continue to have more stereotypes, you know, and you just become just another statistic, you know, just another statistic. You continue to do the same thing, you're going to continue to get the same results. So
I want to make a point too. It's something that you said, and it's sad it's like this, but this is true. And that's the point I made about the superficial part, is that sometimes the only way to impact the individuals, like as you're leading by example, is if the success is there, because they see the success. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I be trying to preach as well, like, you might not always be successful. You know, like, the conversation still got to be had. You still have to take, like, if a person is being unhealthy to you, and you want to communicate that to them and draw that line so that can be a healthy relationship, you might not be successful. Mm-hmm. But that's the point. You still got to have that conversation, and that's the fear. You know, people just want to be successful, you know, so they'll just shy away from that and then go do this and look good, but no, deal with that. That's the big point that I like to make too, because we have this saying, a lot of sayings in the game and how we grew up, like win, lose, or draw, you know, and that's a code of a gangster. Win, lose, or draw, you still got to stick to a certain type of code, but it should, okay, win, lose, or draw, man, you got to, and that's I try to stress stuff like that big time.
Yeah, and I mean, these big egos come from secretly rooted insecurity, right?
Exactly.
So how do you talk to them and bring out, like, dude, this is only because you haven't dealt with this real issue, right?
That's a difficult conversation.
Yeah, and those are the conversations that almost those people got to go on their own journey, and like you did, and you did, and I did, right?
You're right.
This journey you have to go down to have this self-actualization of, like, man, this is just stupidity that I'm doing, and it's all because of this deeper insecurity I have, so I want people to think I look tough.
Real talk.
I think that a lot of times, like you say, you are the example. When you are the example, people can see as opposed to hearing it.
Right.
You know, because a lot of times I always say, like, some people, the cake is baked. There's nothing I can say to someone who's already 25 years old and been doing something for 25 years, and they're out here and they're getting money. Why would they do anything different?
Right, yeah.
I can't change
they
that.
Think
So
right.
they gotta bang their head,
and
lose everything. They gotta fall. But my mindset is on the younger generation. Yeah. My mind is on the kids, because that cake is not baked. It's still in the oven, so we don't know what's coming out of it.
Yeah, what do you say? It's easier to raise strong children than fix broken men. I read,
that's a good saying.
I read that saying. I forgot who that was, like Thomas Edison. And I ain't gonna lie, that's when I stopped, because I had a very strong opinion. I used to get into fights with everybody else, but I knew I was right by certain things. But when I read that, I was like, I had to check myself. And I stopped really telling people things. And I started focusing on the youth. You know what I mean? Because they're sponges still.
Sponges.
Yeah. You know?
So
that was my favorite part about preaching in juvenile hall, when you see the light bulb go off in one kid's head.
Yeah. It's rewarding for sure.
Yeah, just one. At least one's listening, right?
Yeah, it's rewarding.
That kid's life's going to be different.
That's the
Definitely.
goal.
Yeah.
That's the goal. So how are you reaching the youth?
So that's my thing. I like to preach emotional intelligence in a major way. Emotional intelligence and, of course, financial literacy. Like my niece, man, I wish I had a video right now, but my niece, so I watch my sister, do these flashcards. My niece got to do them every day, but she does these flashcards, of all type of terminologies and different things in the financial world, from real estate, from credit cards, from checking and banking accounts, and just the terminology. We're running it through her brain process at a young age. And now she's going through these flashcards, and my sister's asking her, and she's snappy at it, you know. So this is what she's picking up, and this is her reality, and this is who she's gonna be, well versed in financial literacy. And then, especially for men, it's the emotional intelligence thing, because men always we try to push the finger at women like, oh, they're emotional. Men are emotional too. We just mask it with anger, jealousy, hate, and we don't even realize it. You know, so it's certain emotions that we have to learn how to identify with so that we can even just express them, actually, first of all, because that's part of you venting it, you know. But I like to teach it because, you know, I was a young boy and I didn't deal with anger for a long time. I didn't deal with neglect. I didn't deal with a lot of things that I went through in my youth, even just grieving. I didn't even know how to grieve. We drank and smoked to grieve. We never dealt with certain things. So I'm blacking out, fighting, waking up in my cell, like, dang, what just happened? Accidentally hit a CO, things of that nature. Don't even realize what I'm doing in my life as I'm becoming more and more violent as a young man, growing into a man, you know, and I can damage things around me with this power that I have as a man with energy. So I had to start deal with those things. So me understanding that and getting kind of past that, I like to really tap into the youth and kind of let them understand that you have to express your emotions. You got to kind of like deal with them things. And especially with men, because for some reason we think that we don't got emotions, or we think that we can be like this macho, cold, stone dude.
Or you're weak if you show emotion.
Exactly. And that's really not true. I've actually been more successful because I can cry. I don't mind crying now. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, you know what I mean? I'm not like all like, you know what I mean? Like, because you know how it be. We used to have to be tough. For me, it's not that way no more. But I'm really finding out who I am now as a person. You know?
Well, and you're secure in yourself to where
For
you
sure.
Can cry.
For sure.
You're not like, oh, Will's not going to think I'm a man if I cry in front of him.
Yeah, it's not about that. You know, it's not even about what the external influences. It's, you know, just like we were influenced by the streets to do some of the things we do, or even people are influenced by their parents, everything. I feel like eventually a young man, as he matures, even a woman, has to learn who they really are, you know, and start to make rational decisions for themselves, you know. But you got to have emotional intelligence, because you're going to be so in your feelings about what everything else is, you know, affecting you, like in whatever particular way it does. But if you can't even digest that and express it, then that's where it bottles up, and we all know what that's about.
Identify.
You know,
why are you feeling like that?
Exactly.
Why are you thinking like this? You have to identify these things. And one point I wanted to make is, you know, they say men can't show their emotion, but the reality of it is anger is an emotion.
Big time.
Anger is an emotion,
You're
but we don't say that. But anger is a secondary emotion.
Right.
Anger is what you do when you're hurt, when you're scared, when you're offended. You act out with anger. So emotional intelligence will tell you this is a secondary emotion before I act out. Why am I angry?
And can I properly communicate this before I get angry?
You definitely should, because before you go pick up a gun or fight someone, until you learn that there's other ways to handle situations or problems, you'll never even become skillful on that side of it. You know what I mean? So if this is all you know to do, you know, I started learning how to be skillful in dealing with people, you know, and just all type of different walks. Like, even if I had to speak for other people, you know what I mean? Like, you know, this is what he means. Like, it's not that, you know, because, you know, people, you gotta think for people these days, it seems like. But it's the perfect analogy I like to give sometimes. It's like for jealousy. Jealousy is a big one, because of course, you know, men get jealous at their woman and they turn into anger. You know, it's a big one right here. But jealousy is not a bad thing. So, like, for example, if you got two kids right here and you're hugging one of them for a little too long, and the other one's like kind of like, I want some, you know, like, I want some action. It's a beautiful thing, actually. It shows, like, you know, that I want to be a part. Like, I care. I love you. You know, that's really all it shows. But a man, because he gets jealous and he can't identify that and express it openly and honestly, he chooses to be angry and possibly damage his relationship. That's the perfect one I like to throw out there, because I see kids do it all the time. And it's beautiful to me.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because I just told someone that recently.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, I'm jealous, but I'm a healthy jealous. I'm jealous enough that, you know, I'm interested. You know, like that.
Not a jealousy.
Not the toxic,
Insecurity.
toxic jealousy. You know, like, I'm not good enough. Like, hey, I want to be over there. Like you just said, like, I want to be over there too. You know,
my dog, every time I hug my girlfriend, he starts barking. It's cute though, right?
That's what I'm
saying. My dog loves me.
It's
That's
a healthy jealous.
It's
It's a healthy jealous and toxic jealous.
And that's just one emotion. We have like 3,000, 4,000. It's thousands of emotions, you know? So that's like a perfect example. That's kind of like the insight that I be trying to give. I deal with like the Nation. I deal with BCA, Miss Morgan, with the school I graduated from right there in Canto. I deal with them. They give me a lot of controlled settings where I'm able to kind of give my story and speak to some youth and just kind of give some of the stuff we give into right now, you know?
Right. So what's next for you? What's next for Gusto Privilege Promotions, for everything Gusto Privilege?
So I got a lot of people wanting me to do music. I don't really like to do music. I'm pretty sure I probably might tap into that because I feel like I'm starting to kind of like get overwhelmed with my life and the battles because I'm still on federal probation and they limit me a lot. You know, I don't like being limited. I've been limited. I feel like I got a shackle on still. So I think it's good for me to just let it go. Just like we said, express it, go ahead and let it go. So I might use that for that, maybe some music in the near future. I'm working on these Pendletons. I'm going to come out with these Pendletons soon. But yeah, man, I be honest right now. I forgot. How can I not, little sis? We got the Bear Clouds, man. This is new. This just hit. We got the Bear Clouds. Just invested in the gang of these. Got a warehouse full of these, and some stores in Illinois, in Florida.
What are the Bear Clouds?
Bear Clouds is a vape. You know, it got banned in California, so it's just online. But we're in stores outside of the state, and we just online sales. But the stores who still want to, tap in. You know, I ain't never followed the rules. No, I'm joking.
Now you say online. Where do they go find that?
Bearclouds.com. It's clouds with the Z, though. Clouds with the C. Bearclouds.com. And it's really hard to get these, man, but we got them. Plenty.
What else you got? You said you're coming out with Pendletons. You got Bear Clouds on bearclouds.com. What else you got going on?
Man, to be honest, I kind of put my life on pause right now. I got too much. I'm really taking care of my mom right now. Okay. You know, she has cancer and stuff like that, so I'm not really doing too much, you know. But fitness, that's something that I've really taken to the next level because I kind of regressed into it. Mm-hmm. I'm just back in the gym, man, focusing on myself, keeping myself kind of mentally straight, given the stuff that I've been going through with moms and stuff like the family, kind of get my family in order, you know. Right. I've been focused on family. I kind of backed up. Like, the income stuff, after a while, it's kind of like it just naturally comes, but I haven't even really been tripping off of all that lately. It's just I kind of took a step back because I was downtown living in the high rise, partying, the women, having a lot of fun, you know, because I became successful. And then when my mom was diagnosed with cancer a couple years ago, I kind of had to like sit back and look at things from a different perspective, right. You know. So I do a lot of family stuff. We big family stuff. We chilling with the family, you know, taking care of moms.
How's mom doing right now?
She's doing really good, man. Her hair's growing back, you know. She's getting her weight back up.
Is she in remission?
She's not in remission. She actually has a cancer that's not curable, so she'll never be in remission. But it's treatable.
What type?
So she has myeloma.
Okay.
So it's in the bone marrow, but they have a stage of it where you can get it to smoldering. So she's definitely on her way. Well, she's just about beat it. We went from being at the hospital 3 times a week to now she only has to go once a month. So it's definitely a blessing to see her recovery. And it kind of helped me kind of put things in perspective, even from the family, you know, from everybody having their differences and stuff like that. We're all kind of tight right now, you know, and it's cool to focus on that, you know.
Yeah, shout out to moms.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
Definitely
that.
Shout out to moms.
She gonna love seeing that.
What's her name?
Happy Mother's Day. Rayshawn Lowe.
Happy Mother's Day, Rayshawn.
I appreciate that, man. Appreciate
Congratulations.
Praying for her.
Definitely. Not only that, we see where all that fight came from.
Oh,
Mom's
man.
kicking cancer ass. You was kicking everybody ass.
Mom's kicking my ass too.
That's how he learned to fight.
That's how he learned to fight.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Get it from his mama.
Man, big time. Big time.
Man, definitely, bro. So how can people reach out to you?
So you catch me on IG, man, at Gusto Privilege. I'm gonna be honest, I'm a real private individual, so you know, our page is private, you know. Like I said, I do have the feds on me. They be in my business. But Gusto Fitness, you can also go Gusto Fitness. That's another page. That's a fitness page. Tap in for your fitness routines, even if you might want a trainer. And then Gusto Promotions Management, that's a page that you follow. And also, like, if any of your friends have businesses and anybody has any type of things going on, you follow that. And I do my best to just promote it just because. And you can also come to me for, like, I try to help people get, like, their LLCs open as well from there to your business accounts. And even if you're trying to get business loans, and I try to, you know, help you through those stages too. And that's a nonprofit as well. I've never been paid for that. You know, I've helped people get cars. I've helped people get business loans. We're actually working on a business loan right now. My sister, we're working on one right now. But yeah, that's a nonprofit too, man. Tap in. I just want to see everybody win. I don't understand that analogy either. You know, games to be sold, not told. I come from the game, but at the end of the day, I feel like if I withhold anything from you that can help you, what type of person am I?
I love that. You know,
that's terrible.
It's kind of the way I live by too. Is if you have the means to help someone, why not help them? And because ultimately, it's all going to come back full circle, right? It's like giving money and donating and all those things. what's the point of keeping it to yourself?
Yeah, I'm gonna get mine. Oh man, how can I leave that out, man? On a Tuesday, man, I created something as well called On a Tuesday, focusing on moms and stuff like that. I kind of like haven't been involved as much as I used to, but yeah, I feed the homeless on Tuesdays. That's really fun. We did 11 consecutive weeks. That's the longest we went straight. But we done like blankets on one Tuesday, socks on one Tuesday. That was my idea. But I have a crew, a crew of people. We all do it. We barbecue and eat first, and then we go down and pass out food or whatever we're passing out. But that's pretty fun too, man. So any donations preferred given there, yeah, we definitely do on a Tuesday. That's fun. That helps me big time too, man, because I like to give my story. I see a lot of people that I know, people we was in the halls with, and I kind of let them know, like, man, you're a good dude, man. This ain't your reality. This is a moment in your life. I like to go out there too. It kind of helps me.
We were talking before we came on, and we said, prison, incarceration, whatever point, your lowest point in your life, that's just a stepping stone to your greatness. It's just a pit stop onto greatness. And from what I'm hearing, from what I see, and based on who I knew to the man you are today, first off, I'm extremely proud of you, bro. I'm extremely proud of you.
Much
and
appreciated.
that was definitely just a pit stop onto your greatness, because you're doing some incredible things, man. Incredible things.
Man, I would like to add, noted, you read the Bible. I don't know. I read the Bible 3 times. You read the Bible, it's a lot of great men. They was in prison, Nelson Mandela, he was in prison. It's a lot of people who was in prison in our times that were great men. So me understanding my history and reading up on a lot of great men, it kind of was that was also an inspiration, that this wasn't my reality in the sense it's not who I am. It's just a moment in my life, So that's something to take note, especially for a lot of people, in prison, on their way home, or people home struggling, or people home successful. I definitely feel like we should be motivated by a lot of the people before us.
Yeah, the Apostle Paul wrote one third of the New Testament while in prison. So
I'm saying though,
many greats,
big time.
And maybe that's God uses these, not even roadblocks. Everyone we talk to say they wouldn't take their time back in prison, because you may not be the man you are today if you didn't spend that. 10 years
for sure.
in prison.
Facts.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, man, listen, man, we appreciate you coming through, man. Gusto Privilege.
Definitely.
Check him out. He's doing incredible things. What'd you say? What was the Tuesday thing you had going on?
Oh, yeah, on a Tuesday, man. I feed the homeless.
Tuesday,
anytime y'all want to get together, man, that's what we do on Tuesday. We do different things, It's not always feeding. But
sometimes
I like to pass out socks. Ain't nothing like putting on a brand new pair of socks, because people real ungrateful in this world we living in.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful. I love like a brand new pair of socks, so I had to give them some socks one day. I was like, man, that's a good idea.
It's crazy you say that. When I was in prison, I had one of my friends in there. He was, making money in prison, but that's one of the things he did. He bought thousands of socks and had his family give away socks. And he said that's one of the people he was connected with. He said that's one of the things that homeless people really want a lot of, that they don't, because nobody think socks. So definitely, like, you touching a lot of souls, bro. You touching a lot of souls.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate
it. Again, man, we appreciate you coming through, sharing your story. You touching. Continue to keep touching. What's this right here again?
Man, bear claws, but vice versa, man. Likewise, man. Since he's been home and I've been seeing what's been going on here, I'm like, man, you mess with some good dudes. I also appreciate what y'all doing, man, because there's not a lot of platforms that's kind of pushing for people who are just in prison. I've seen a lot of people in prison come home and make their own podcasts and things of that nature, and but there's not just, this is a platform. You know what I mean? This is Post P Chronicles, so I definitely appreciate this as well.
Yeah. Because now, if you guys do appreciate it, make sure to like and subscribe. Post P Chronicles on YouTube. Subscribe.
Tell a friend, share, tell your mom, share all that stuff, tie it to a bird and throw it in the air. Somebody will get it. Oh, man. So, again, I'm Will.
And I'm Steven.
And this is the Post P Chronicles.